scrap your talents, man. I think sometimes we have so many of these guys that are gifted speakers who have the
Mhm.
ability to communicate because they're gifted speakers.
And
Because
very intelligent, very
yes,
intelligent. I mean, all
yes,
these guys, all those guys at TMS, to anybody that goes to TMS, they're way smarter than me, for sure.
correct. Yes, yes.
But at the same time, it's not about that.
No.
It's not about that. How much time do you spend with Christ? How much time do you abide with Him? How much time do you lean on Him and depend on Him in your preaching?
Welcome back to the Caleb Gordon Podcast. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Caleb Gordon Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Gordon. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be a part of the program. Listen, before we jump into the conversation today, I wanted to say thank you to one of our amazing sponsors, Revo Financial. They are just a fantastic financial planning organization that has kingdom mindsets. They have a desire to advance the gospel in the places of the economy. And are you looking for a way to advance your future? Do you have a plan for your future? Do you have a plan for your money? Do you have a plan for retirement? Do you want to leave a legacy for your family? These are all questions that need to be answered. And I think every Christian should have some sort of an answer, and it should be in the affirmative. Yes, I do want to leave these things. Yes, I want to do these things for the cause of the gospel, for the advancement of the kingdom, and for the betterment of my family. My friend Lucas and his folks at Revo Financial have all of the answers for you guys. Check them out at revofinancial.com, and they'll get you squared away with everything that you need to have in order to accomplish your financial goals. Check them out at revofinancial.com. Well, on the program today, I sit down with the one and only Mr. Tom Sheppard, and we talk about Shepherd's Conference. And we're going to talk about all the things that are happening. What's the latest on Brother John MacArthur, and all the things that took place at the Shepherd's Conference, as well as evangelism post-conference. Just a fun conversation with Brother Tom Sheppard. I pray that it encourages you and it challenges you this week. Love y'all. Welcome to the Caleb Gordon Podcast, Mr. Tom Sheppard. How in the world are you doing, my friend?
Good, man. How are you, bro?
Oh, dude, fantastic. Just living the dream one more time. I'm in a Moscow mood tonight.
I need one of those shirts. Absolutely.
Gabe hooked me up with one knowing I was at Fight Laugh Feast. So, yeah, it was good. How in the world have things been going? We haven't talked in a bit.
Yeah, it's been, man. So 2 weeks out at ShepCon, out at Braden Patterson's church, Grace Bible Church in Moore Park, California.
Yeah.
Did some evangelism out there, then went to ShepCon, spent that whole week there. It was just constant nonstop, and then did more evangelism at Moore Park College, and then went out to Ventura Pier, did evangelism out there. Dude, I came home and I slept literally. I mean, I went to my bed
You
and
just crashed.
yeah, all day. It was, I didn't get out of bed the whole day.
Okay, so my whole thought process was I wanted to get you on the show and talk about Shepherd's Conference, what it was like, just sort of kind of give us a rundown of what you experienced at Shepherd's Conference. So just sort of kind of 30,000 foot view, and then we'll jump more into the evangelism stuff and hanging out with Braden.
So the first day we went there, I remember getting in the line and Brandon Scalf and Nick White come over and everything. They say hi, we're talking, we're hugging.
Nice.
So you're seeing a whole bunch of people that, that you're friends with on Facebook, just walking, hey, I know that guy, everybody's like, hey, what's up? Glad you're here and all that. So that was really good. And we check in, and as we're checking in, we see the John MacArthur study Bibles just waiting for us. So we all got a Shepherd's Conference, John MacArthur study Bible. And then we went into, so it was so crowded. 4,000 people in the actual sanctuary, and then they sold another 1,000 tickets for overflow. And it was just nonstop. It was just people just everywhere, not to mention the fact it was raining, which did not help things, because normally they have coffee and snacks and everything just scattered throughout the entire campus. Well, they didn't this time because there was rain, and we
Sure.
actually had to go in the book tent, and so it was just everybody trying to get coffee in there. So we get there and we go into the sanctuary, 4,000 men singing songs, and
So
it was
cool.
that is the most amazing thing. It really probably is one of the best parts of the conference, listening and being surrounded by 4,000 men
Yeah.
singing at the top of your voice,
Well, and
praising
I
God.
think anytime I hear a group of men singing just solid theological hymns and
Yeah.
psalms together, it is just one of the most powerful things that I have
Oh,
ever experienced. And to hear men just robustly singing is so
right.
amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Well, because I'm not a real good singer, and even at my church, I'll sing in a tone that's, a lot lower,
Sure.
because, I don't sound real good. I mean, I could sing loud at the Shepherd's Conference because the guy next to me doesn't sound real good either. But everybody
Right.
together,
Yeah.
great.
It is something about the collective when you have the collective together singing the songs that you're singing and you're just I mean, in just utter worship of King Jesus. It
Oh yeah.
really does make the whole room feel completely different. So yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So that was check-in was 7 o'clock in the morning. First sermon wasn't until 9. Abner Chow breaks it out, and it was all on missions in evangelism, which is my thing anyway. This is what I wanted to hear. Abner Chow, he did a great job in opening up. Then Braden and I went to a breakout session with Paul Washer, and he was
Did you just
supposed
have your soul crushed? I mean, seriously. I mean,
it
Paul
was
Washer. If I ever just need to have my soul crushed, just turn
yeah.
on a Paul Washer sermon. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. And what's funny is so it was in the book tent also,
Mm.
and there all the seats were already taken. So Braden and I actually went and got chairs and put it right up front and sat right in front.
Oh, how cool!
We
That's
really
awesome.
wanted our soul crust. So, but he came on and he was actually supposed to be speaking on missions, and he didn't. He he read the text and he said, "You know what? I'm not going to preach this text. I'm just going to say what needs to be said." And
Mm.
I mean, just jaws dropped the entire hour that he
Lit the
was.
tent on fire.
Oh my gosh, it was just like we 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 were all just floored. He was just every time he preaches, it's just so convicting.
Oh yeah.
Spending time with God and in prayer and then just abiding with Christ. And it doesn't matter how good of a skilled preacher you are. It doesn't matter if you got straight A's in your seminary test. It doesn't matter if you're all these things. What matters is how much time do you actually spend with Christ?
Come on. Yes.
Just boom. I mean, just hammered everyone. Fantastic. Joel Beakey was fantastic. He's one of my favorites anyway.
Yeah.
And that was just the first day. So the first day, 7 in the morning, we didn't get out of there till 7 at night. And got home. I was in Thousand Oaks is where Braden picked me up. I didn't rent a car. He drove me everywhere, and so it was a long day. And then the next day, getting up the exact same thing again. Nathan Business preached. Trying to think who else. Oh, H.B. Charles, man, dude.
Bro, HB Charles, he is one of my favorites, and that dude can just bring the house down. And he
He
is
really
just,
did. I mean, talk about the nuts and bolts of preaching. He
come
just
on.
goes anything that you want to. I mean, he reads the text, he explains the text, and he preaches. I mean, he just belts it out with exhortation and application, and it's just fantastic. So we're all just being fed over and over and over. There wasn't one message that just wasn't incredible. It was a fantastic time.
That is
So the
great.
first 2 days it rained, and then it was the third day. Of course, we're expecting John MacArthur to,
Sure.
and there were rumors flying around, all the way through. Is he going to speak? No, he's on dialysis. And then they said, no, we're hearing he's going to come and all that. And we were finally told that after one of the speakers, I can't remember who it was, there was going to be a small video, and there was, and it was just heartbreaking.
Mm,
Um, he gets on there and saying, to hear John MacArthur say, this is my last lap,
mm.
and he knew it. And even though
Sure.
And so, but he is scheduled to preach at the Puritan Conference in October. Um,
I mean, God's sovereign, and listen,
you know,
nobody dies early, so
right, yeah. And so, but just everybody, everybody's silence over listening, watching that video, and you've probably seen it on Facebook and stuff
I
like that.
have, yes.
But everybody in there was just, he's a godly man, a faithful man,
One of my
and
favorite guy. I mean, literally the guy that transformed my whole view of Calvinism, the view of,
oh
I
yeah.
mean, just absolutely, just completely shifted my view on exegetical preaching.
Mhm.
I own one of his multiple. I give away John MacArthur Bibles to people
Right.
all the time. Like we get them and we give them away. And man, one of the, in my opinion, one of the just fathers of the faith in our day. And
For
I
sure.
think he is one of the big pillars in our time. And I think from him and guys like R.C. Sproul, like in 100 years, they're going to be quoting both these guys because
Oh,
they were such giants in the faith. And so I just, man, I respect them and love them so much.
yeah, definitely. So they, like you, he was instrumental in bringing me to the doctrines of grace. And listening to those 10 sermons that he preached out through the doctrines of grace. He actually did them backwards. First time I heard him was like 2004, and it was the tale of two sons, the parable
Yes.
of the,
Great
and
sermon. Great
yeah,
sermon.
it was interesting because back then, we were listening on Grace to You on radio, and they were 20-minute clips, and of course, John MacArthur, he's going 60 minutes. So I had to wait 3 days to get through the entire sermon on radio,
Yeah.
and I had never heard him, and I was like, this guy is bringing, he's teaching me more in 60 minutes than I can go in 6 months at the church that I was attending back then, an
Yep.
Armenian church that was, just level, surface level stuff.
Yep.
He's deep into the text, and I was like, wow, who is this guy? And yeah, just awesome. When
Yep.
discovering him and then downloading his sermons, it really helped.
My dad was the one who introduced me to John MacArthur, and man, I have not been the same since, and I
No,
just it's just been an amazing time. So, I'm
right.
sorry, I'm interrupting you. So keep going.
No,
Watch
so
the
so
video.
it was 3 days of the Shepherds Conference, and just meeting. I saw Kofi. I mean, I could just go
Yeah.
on all the people that we had seen at Shepherds Conference, and Nick White, Nathaniel Jolly, some bigger names. They're just walking by, dude. They have like a shoe shine place. You go over and you sit down, and they have a shoe shine ministry. You sit down and they're shining shoes. And I mean, they were the best looking shoes I've ever had in my life. I went back, came back the next day, different shoes on. Boom.
And they
These shoes.
shine your shoes again.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was just so good. The coffee was every.
Did it
It
finally
really.
stop raining and the sun come out
It
like
did. The
typical
third
Southern
day.
Southern California?
The third day, the sun came out, and it was kind of back to normal. The coffee was in the normal places, and the
Yeah.
snacks. You don't have to buy food. You just don't need to. There's so much food. Uh, the amount of people that are there. So 1,000 volunteers helped out.
Wow.
1,000 people that attend Grace Community Church of Sun Valley, California, devote their time and their effort. I mean, I just can't imagine. It's just done so well. It is unlike any other conference. You may have smaller conferences where the fellowship is better, because you get to spend time with the speakers and do things, and you're together. The 24 hours that you're there. Going out after the conference and stuff like. But this is it's on a campus that's huge with 4,000 like-minded believers, and just encouraging each other, getting to know each other,
That's
ministry
good. And that's good.
opportunities, podcast opportunities. Just already, a guy reached out to me today, who is in McKinney, Texas, and he goes, "Brother, I'd like you to come out to McKinney, Texas, and help me out with our evangelism." And it was just somebody that I met at the conference right there, and it's just going to be such a blessing to be able to do ministry with these people.
That's
So
so awesome. I
It
love
really
that. And that's what, and it's just, and our conference that we did was just smaller and it was a smaller
right.
level. But man, I'm telling you, the fellowship, I think that's the thing, like, that's our thing that we're going to focus on next year. We're going to focus on trying to have more time for fellowship and more time for
Mhm.
like-minded believers to be together to share ideas and network ideas on evangelism and just how to just foster an environment where the church grows in
Yeah.
godliness and in the pursuit of holiness and things of that nature. So we've got some great ideas, but this I love that you've connected with people like you have, and
Oh
that
yeah.
that there's been this camaraderie, this brotherhood, this fellowship that is just it is a weird thing when you meet people who you don't even really know, but when you find out that they're believers in Christ, it feels like you've known them for, I mean, like you and I haven't known each other very long, but
Right.
the reality is like the things that you and I have talked about, I'm like, bro, this dude and I could like, we could really be together and like
We can
hang
hang
out.
out. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And there's like this, and it wouldn't be this awkward, oh, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Like, I know
Right.
what we're going to talk about. Like, we're
Oh
going to
yeah.
get after it, bro. And so, like, this is the thing that I love about the Christian community, genuine
Yeah.
Christian community, is people, you know one another because the
Right.
same Jesus who rules and reigns this in this heart rules and reigns in your heart. And it's a beautiful thing to see. So I
It
love
really is. And then you see, you have some older men that have been in ministry for a long time, and you hear the young men gleaning off of the information that these guys provide, and then different ministries that everybody's involved in or what school. So not only the master seminary people go there, there's some people from all over the place. Some are getting their doctorate in preaching at the master seminary, like
that.
Brandon,
Yeah.
for example.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and just I mean just listen to the pastors talk back and forth, and they're all going through the exact same things. But the focus of this conference I really loved wasn't anything deep doctrinally. Matter of fact, all the sermons were, what are our marching orders? What do we need to do?
Yes.
What is the character of an evangelist? So how do we get our church to understand that our marching orders is to go out and sharing the gospel and
Yes.
Christ being
Absolutely.
crucified? So they weren't deep theological topics. It was, what is the mission of the church?
Come on.
Let's go out and preach the gospel, and then how to equip the men and women in our church to go out and do evangelism. How do we encourage them? What are some challenges? What are all these things? And it was just it was as if God had a plan to put this conference together to encourage his bride to go out and recruit more people for the kingdom.
It,
It was
it
just
Absolutely. And I think that that is sometimes just going back into these basic things and just, like, when you, after you've played a game and I'm going to use a football analogy, even though I'm a horrible football guy. Um, like sometimes when you go play a game and you've just been beat up, the coach is like, okay, listen, we just need to get back to the basics. Let's just go back to block and tackle. Let's just go back to block and tackle. It's just the basics, the fundamentals, and knowing and getting into the fundamentals of what it looks like to go out and to make disciples, to evangelize, to see men and women won for the kingdom. It's just, it is an encouraging thing, and that's something I think that the church needs to be more aggressive in. And listen, I've said this for years that if you're genuinely a reformed dude, like you're
yeah,
going to be one of the most evangelistic guys on the planet because like
yeah,
God's already won the war. The victory's been won. Like it's like shooting into a barrel. Like easy, right?
right, yeah.
That's I just went to dinner the other night and I looked at I've been doing this for years, but it's fun to see that Andrew Rappaport does the same thing I do, and I love that. Like I was sitting at dinner and my waiter comes up and he takes my order and I find out his name's Brian. And I was like, and I caught him off guard. It's fun to catch people off guard like this. I'm like, hey Brian, we're about to pray for our meal. How can we pray for you, brother? And he's like, uh, 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 and this is what he prays for. I genuinely am looking for an opportunity to be able to worship more. I'm struggling because
Wow.
I have to work on Sundays to pay my bills, and I'm looking for an opportunity. And so, the next time I go in there, I'm going to take my book. I'm going to take some information, just some tracks and some resources to find a way for him to get access to stuff that he can worship more corporately. And so I'm excited about this. But Like that's what he prayed. Will you pray? And I was
Sure.
like, let's do it right now. And he was like, you mean right now? I was like, yeah, dude. Let's pray for you. So I was like, Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray that you be with Brian. And he was just like, thank you so much. Like you don't need, like it took less than 5 minutes. And here's what I'll say. So tonight I went to Walmart. And when I go to Walmart, there's always somebody greeting, and the guy that was greeting, he starts telling me all about things because he and we've known each other back and forth for about a few months now, and he knows that I'm a believer, and we've talked about Christ just basically, and he's just like, yeah, I went and met this lady that at this Renaissance fair, and she was talking about, and he like people talk about what they believe,
All right.
and it is, forget that you talk about you believe in Jesus. These people believe in the weirdest and
Sure.
most macabre, strange
All right.
stuff in the world. And they're telling it with conviction. I'm like, then why in the world are we who have hope, who have the truth, that have the gospel, are not shouting from the rooftops that this is
Yeah.
what like this guy was telling me all about this lady that loves to go to these
All right.
Renaissance fairs, and she's a white witch and she's this, and I'm like, and he's like
Getting out the
not
pro car.
ashamed to talk about this.
Yeah.
He's
Crazy
not
stuff.
ashamed, and
Yeah.
he's aggressively saying this. I'm like, man, I got the truth, bro.
Mhm.
Jesus is king. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's for sure.
it is wild.
So which leads me pretty much to the evangelism after the Shepherds Conference. But even though we were still exhausted, we planned out the following Saturday. So Shepherds Conference ended on a Friday. Saturday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, we go to a Planned Parenthood thing. So
Mm,
it was it
yes,
was a it was a parachurch function that really wasn't affiliated with Braden's church, but we went just to get a good idea of it. There's so many things we would have done differently.
sure.
But we went out there, so we didn't see anybody go in or out. But we did get to, at least pray for everything involved with that. So I don't know how effective it was, besides that we brought our petitions to our Father, who knows all things. So
Come on. Yes.
that, and then we ended up going to Ventura Pier to do evangelism out there. And this was after we had already went to the college out there in Moore Park, which was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's beautiful. We're on the ocean. The pier is hundreds of feet long. I don't know, maybe 3 football fields, and it's just covered with people. And we set up a sign. So, are you going to heaven? People are walking up and down. One person's preaching. You're asking the question, are you going to heaven? Somebody marks, I don't know, right? Yes, or whatever. And you're finding out what their trust in is for eternal life, and
Yeah.
genuine conversation. And we had maybe 6 people with this church that was with us, and we stayed out there for 3 hours.
Oh wow.
Just amazing. It's just, when we just trust God,
Come on. Yes.
he's just going to use us.
Come on.
And
100%.
yeah, the conversations that we had, were definitely fruitful. Every single one of them.
And I
I'm
love
just
that you guys set up, like last time you were on the podcast, you told me how you did that, and so I got a visual of how that works, and I absolutely love that. But you put the whiteboard up, and you ask the question because it gets people engaged, and so because
right.
sometimes people will be like, man, I don't know how to engage people, I don't know what to say. Like this is a perfect opportunity to lay this out. They get to walk up and they get to make the decision that, hey, I'm gonna check yes, I'm gonna check no, I don't know, and it's just fantastic icebreaker to jump into the conversation of what it looks like to surrender to Christ. Man, I love
Yeah,
it.
they actually engage us. And so one other person, and let me see if I can remember it. One other guy comes up to me with this little Chinese woman. He said, I want to teach you how to say, or he goes, I want to teach you something. And I'm like, oh no, here
Oh
we
boy,
go.
yeah, that's always fun.
Oh yeah. I was like, all right. I was like, okay, what do you got? I want to teach you how to say Jesus loves you in Mandarin.
Oh, how fun. Okay, yeah,
Yes. And I was like,
okay,
okay,
yes,
I said, what you got? He goes, Yesu, I need. He goes, Yesu, I need.
yes,
So
Sue, I
Jesus
need.
loves you is Yesu, I need.
Yes,
So I
Sue,
remember it
I
by,
need. I love
yeah,
it.
so like Jesus, but
Yes,
Yesu,
yes,
Yesu, I need. And so I remember that. I learned something on Ventura Pier.
that's
Jesus loves
awesome. I love that. That's so cool.
Very cool. Yeah, it was
That
really,
is.
it was such a blessing to spend time with Braden and his family. We went back Sunday evening and or Sunday morning and heard him preach there, and then he took me to the airport and then like I said, I got home 1 o'clock in the morning, and Monday I slept. So
Just
it was
crash, bro. That's so cool. So what are one of the main like some of the great takeaways that you had from the actual Shepherds Conference? I know that I've
yeah.
heard through the grapevine that John's got Brother MacArthur has kidney failure, so it looks like, man, it's not looking good. But I just heard that through the rumor mill. I don't know if that's the truth or not.
So according to the video, and while we were there, we had heard that he was going through 4 hours a day of dialysis.
Yeah,
That was the rumor mill. So
sure.
I'm not be dogmatic on it.
Yeah,
But he also did say that he was recovering, but it was slowly. I haven't heard anything since then. During that time, the Puritan Conference was announced by Joel Beakey that they're going to have October 3rd through the 5th at John MacArthur's church, and he is scheduled to preach. God knows if he's going to make it or not.
sure. Yes.
He is. Takeaways from the conference. So many different styles of preaching.
Mm,
You have Mike Riccardi, who's the most academic guy in the world, who started off and it seemed like it was going to be a lecture, just step by step, nuts and bolts of the sermon.
sure.
And then he started hitting it home. And it was
Yeah.
just like he ended up preaching all the way through,
Come on.
and you were floored. Abner Chow, a very well, he talks really fast. He just went through what you would expect from a TMS student,
Sure.
a doctor, academic, but going through the text verse by verse, explaining every little detail of the text, going all the way through to Joel Beakey and his experiential preaching,
Come on.
you know,
That's a
talking
great book.
about, oh yeah, dude. And just, just the way he is, he's not real passionate. Well, he is, and he's not. He's not loud,
Sure.
but just the passion comes out. And you know that he's teaching all of Christ that is in his heart
Mm.
to our hearts. He's speaking right into our hearts. And so that experiential preaching that that man has been with Christ, to HB Charles, who has all of it. He has the preaching, he has the teaching, he has going verse by verse deep into the text, which
He's
was
one of my
fantastic.
favorite. I mean, he's right now. He's one of my favorites. And man, I'm telling you, I just love HB.
And then you have Nathan Busenitz, who's also a an elder there. And golly, I can't remember his name. The tall dude, what's his name? Oh, and Michael Reeves. I can't forget Michael
Yeah,
Reeves. Just another Joel Beakey type.
sure.
Um, but all of that to say, all of it to say, and you might have some TMS guys disagree with me on this because you have Paul Washer who comes in there and is probably looser with the text than all the rest of them. But man, the guy says what needs to be said. And he just grips every man, the most convicting sermons, and challenges every single person in there to spend time with Christ. That it's all about Christ. It's not about your gifting.
Come on.
It's not about your intelligence.
And I
It's
think that
not.
can sometimes absolutely affect so many different people because I've heard this from multiple people who have been through seminary who say, man, I go through it and it's one of the most dry seasons of my life because I felt like I had to do it. It was like, it was school. And so like, there wasn't this sense of, I've got to get alone with God. I need to be on my face before the sovereign king of the universe. And man, Brother Washer just brings that to the reality that one of the things that forget scrap your talents, man. I think sometimes we have so many of these guys that are gifted speakers who have the
Mhm.
ability to communicate because they're gifted speakers.
And
Because
very intelligent, very
yes,
intelligent. I mean, all
yes,
these guys, all those guys at TMS, to anybody that goes to TMS, they're way smarter than me, for sure.
correct, yes, yes,
But at the same time, it's not about that.
no,
It's not about that. How much time do you spend with Christ? How much time do you abide with him? How
Mhm.
much time do you lean on him and depend on him in your preaching?
Come on.
Um, and it's encouraging for me because I am dumber than a bag of hammers.
No, well,
And
we're
I
together in this thing. We'll be in the bag together.
right, right. So I can't depend on any of those things anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm not going to go away. I don't go into my sermon thinking that somebody's going to think of how good of a preacher I am. I am just, you
Well, and
know
I think
what?
that that's the danger of the internet, right? Like we see these guys that are on the screens, and
Yeah.
and we're like, man, I want to be the next John MacArthur. I want to be the next R.C. Sproul. I want to be the next Paul Washer. And like, no, 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 forget that, scrap that. You be the next guy that God's put in front. You be you.
Yeah.
Right, you be you, because God only created you, and according to Acts chapter 17, He puts you where you are for a purpose and on purpose.
Yeah.
So go be you. Don't be John MacArthur. There's already one of those. There's already a Paul Washer. You be a Tom Sheppard. You be a Caleb Gordon, and go do what God's called you to do in the specific spaces you're in. Right?
And do it well. And do it well.
Yes.
Give it
Yes.
all you have. However God has gifted you, use it. Use it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was just good.
That's
Just
I love that, man. That's so great. Well, we're I mean, I don't know what the future holds for ShepCon, because I know that's and John's always said that's his favorite time of year. Like, all these
right.
guys get together, and I think it's because of the fellowship. It's because of the camaraderie that I think that's. And as I've been going to more conferences lately, I used to not be a conference guy. I used to go to a couple conferences every 5, 6, 7, 10 years. I've gone to more in the last 5 than I have in a long time. And I think the majority of what I love the most about the conferences is not, it is the teaching, but it's also getting around other believers who love King Jesus, who love his word, and want to see the kingdom advance. I think that's the thing that is most just love it.
It is. Yeah, for sure. So I am excited. So one thing about the Shepherds Conference, typically it is designed for shepherds. So it's
Yes.
only meant. One thing that's exciting, you have the G3 National Conference that's coming that women and women can go to. The Puritan Conference, my wife and I definitely want to go to. And then I'm going to be speaking at the Grace and Truth Conference, the Order Salutis Conference in Tyler, Texas.
Nice.
Excited with that because my wife and I, real quick, I don't know how much time we got, but my wife and I we were talking about long ago, who is it going to get that's going to be replacing the R.C. Sproul's and the John MacArthur's and the Alistair Beggs and all these guys that
Yep.
we
Yep.
listen. Well, at this conference coming up, Kevin Hay, Brandon Scalf, Nick White, Jacob Tanner. I mean, these are the guys. God has a line full of people. I'm definitely not one of them, but those guys are fantastic, and I'm just excited to go fellowship with them and listen to hear them preach.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I've
And
got
then the
to spend.
conference that you have.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. We've got some good plans for this next year. We'll announce soon some cool stuff. I've got some stuff in the pipe that I don't want to throw out yet, because I don't want people. We're still incubating some of this stuff, and it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this. And my goal. So what, instead of just this last year, what we did at our conference, it was like drinking from a fire hose. I mean, it was just literally, and you're like, holy smoke, there's so much. So we've got some new stuff coming down the pike. After Andrew and I talked, he and I, like I said, the fellowship. Andrew is now one of my favorite human beings,
Yeah.
and he and I have become really close. I literally FaceTimed him when I jumped in the cold plunge the other night. So,
I saw his ad with Squirrely Joe's.
whoa, hey, let me just say right here, right now on the podcast, that was my idea in my kitchen. I was like, bro, the next time I do an ad for Revo Financial, who's one of the sponsors for our podcast, I was like, I'm gonna do it because I get so many more clicks and watches when these things happen. I'm gonna do the
Right.
ad from the cold plunge. And he was like, that's a great idea. So he didn't quite give me credit, but
Oh yeah, he's
it
gonna have
definitely
to.
happened in my kitchen. So
Wow, yeah, we're gonna have to get on Andrew.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
Andrew Rappaport, if you want to seriously, I mean, he is such a good friend. He's got your back.
He does, and
He will
and
fight for
he
you.
is. He will not say yes to this, but he is one of the most gifted communicators. My daughter-in-law said, I loved Andrew's talk. She was there for the whole conference, and she said, my favorite was Andrew.
Really good.
That was her. I mean, she's She said my favorite was Andrew.
Speaker,
Oh,
he's
it's
just
fantastic.
he tries to make everything so simple and easy to understand, and he does. Yeah, he
It's a
really does.
great thing. He communicates well. So, well, brother,
Well, wait, you had Michael Staten there too?
bro, listen, my favorite, Michael Staten was my favorite. Andrew was
Uh-huh.
second. So, right, that was Michael Staten. Literally, just he batted that thing over the fence. I literally was sat in the front row with my jaw open, just was like,
Yeah.
then he said yes to me. I literally, that's how I introed him. I was like, listen, this guy said yes to me, and it was like asking something, because I'm one of those guys that ask big questions. I'm like, hey, what's just, all I can say is no. And then when he says yes, I'm like, oh shoot, what do I do now? This guy's a big dog. Like, and even though
Yeah.
people, he is, and I'm just like, and he was fantastic. Like he was fantastic. And so I'm trying to hopefully see if he'll come back next year, because I literally I was by the time I was over it, I was so encouraged. I was ready to, like, let's go invade hell with a water pistol. Like, let's go, baby. I was ready to go. It was so good. So
That's all.
yeah,
And then Brandon Scalfi had and Brett Baggett.
yeah, great guys. Love
Good
them
stuff.
both. They love the Lord, and you could tell they just have a passion for
Sure.
Jesus. So I love that. So, well,
Yeah.
brother, I appreciate you coming on the show and
Thank you.
sharing what happened at Shepherd's Conference, and just sort of kind of your experience. And I love what you're doing. You have a heart for the kingdom, and man, that we need that in the church. We need more people in the church to have just a fire in the belly to say, let's go see people saved. Let's see people come to know Christ. And I'm serious. After the conversation today, after listening to the guy say the things he said, I was like, why are we so afraid? There are so many people who say some of the most absurd, wild, crazy things that
Unashamedly.
yes, unashamedly.
Yeah.
Like, he was standing there talking about the white witch unashamedly, and I was like,
Yeah. And
I'm
we
sorry,
can't.
what?
Yeah.
And I can't talk about King Jesus, who gives me the breath to breathe, that gives me the ability to do the things I do. Like, I'm in a Moscow mood. Like, let's throw the flag up, baby. Let's go. So
Give me one of those. It's got that torch, right?
yeah, exactly. So I need Doug with a flamethrower.
Right. Yeah. No quarter November flag. Let's go.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Well, brother, so if somebody's interested in finding out more about your ministry, where do they get in touch with you?
So, Open Air Theology, we have a podcast with Braden Patterson. We do, I go out personally and help churches get their evangelism started. Real quick teaching class, just going through and then taking them out in the street, showing them what it looks like. It's really not as hard as everybody makes it out to be.
Yeah.
Once you get started, you have a couple of faithful men.
Get your hands dirty, baby. Come on.
Right, man. Just get dirty and get out there and go. So just message me on Facebook, message Braden, and that's what it is. We'll get started.
I love it. Thanks so much for being on the show tonight.
God bless, man. Thank you.
Yeah, blessings. Hey, my friends, thanks for tuning in to this podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this conversation, check out calebgordon.org for all the other episodes that are out there, anything that I've written, anything that I have podcast-wise, and I pray that it blesses you and it encourages you. Love y'all.